To date, over 1,000 animal processing plants in the United States have seen COVID-19 infections among their employees. 26 of those plants are in North Carolina, the second largest producer of pork by value, and the third largest producer of chicken. While the backlog of animals waiting for slaughter was not as severe as in the Midwest, processing in the Southeast is 20% behind 2019. Producers are adjusting to the bottleneck.
Initially, a lot of things are done to kind of slow the growth, change the nutritional profiles, hold them back. We're seeing a lot of changes in terms of breeding practices, trying to take pigs out of the flow. So we really expect that this is going to go easily through the fall and probably into early next year.
That means a reduction in the 17 million hogs that are raised in North Carolina each year. As production on the farm is delayed, a potential shortage of pork is being created in the second half of the year. But a reduction in the overall size of the pork herd may not improve the bottom line on the balance sheet.
Profitability is going to be dramatically affected. Depends on where demand and pricing and everything else goes. But the reality is if we think about cutting the number of pigs being placed, which is what we're doing if we're not going to be breeding as many or producing as many pigs, means each farmer is going to be producing less pigs, and production, like a lot of animal agriculture, is a low margin, high volume business. And so the profitability really hinges for most producers on that ability of throughput and volume. And that's going to be the disadvantage for the rest of this year.
On the other end of the supply chain, consumers have adjusted to an increased amount of cooking at home. The Chicago-based food research company IRI has found grocery store customers are trying unfamiliar cuts from the meat counter as replacements for their standard recipes. According to IRI market research, the meat department in many grocery stores has struggled to find gains in recent years. Since the pandemic forced lockdowns in major cities 10 weeks ago, sales from the cooler have risen 48%. The shift away from restaurants and other venues continues to stress the food industry. But while grocery store sales are up, the time when Americans will return to eating in restaurants is unknown.
You expect them to open up. The big question is, how much more will people go out to eat? Do they go back to the regular patterns of going out on a Friday, Saturday night, or even during the week, getting takeout? Or will it be restrained? I don't have that answer. Everything in our consumers surveys say it's going to be a slower recovery back into food service.
Dubois sees one positive effect on the industry as a whole that has been brought on by the closure of places to eat and various stay-at-home orders.
If I think back to my 30 years in the business, almost every meeting in an association had been around, how do we get people to cook more at home? How do we get them to have family meals around the table? How come they only try 3 or 4 dishes and only buy 3 or 4 cuts of meat? And the answer is it's hard. So the whole industry's been working on recipes and innovations and how to make it easier for the consumer. They've worked so hard. Out of this has become everything the industry's wanted, which is people are cooking at home.
It remains to be seen if the industry can build on the shift in demand as the country begins to lift restrictions used to control the spread of COVID-19. From Market to Market, I'm Peter Tubbs.